Hi everybody, it's Rich Whitehouse, and I have once again foolishly strapped a low quality webcam to my head. I want to demonstrate some of the new touch functionality I've added to BigPEmu since the first release on iOS, and this version is awaiting Apple's approval right now, so once they've finished up their review, I kind of doubt they even load any games in the thing, to be honest. But once they finish their very thorough review, I'll be getting this update out to everybody and releasing some desktop ports, or the usual desktop ports as well. And it's worth noting that all this functionality can be used on the desktop ports as well. You just have to enable the touch-based UI option in the input menu, and by default, that will give you a cursor, a visible cursor in the desktop ports. And if you don't like the fact that it's the normal Windows cursor, stick a cursor.ping file next to the binary and it'll use that instead. But anyway, oh yeah, and I should also mention, if you are using any of the script functionality, you first need to go into this little script modules menu, make sure you have the scripts actually enabled in that menu, and make sure that the hashes for the software images you're using match the hashes given on the compatibility page on the website. That's at richwhitehouse.com/Jaguar. Just go to the compatibility page and make sure the hash that page lists matches the one that you are using. But anyway, so I've been just kind of messing around with this thing, sitting in doctor's offices, taking dumps and what have you. And I really did want to take more of a break before I jumped back into this after releasing the iOS port, but I kind of couldn't help myself because I'm just like, I'm playing some of these things like VidGrid and just wanting to drag the pieces around, because that's the obvious and intuitive thing when you've got a touch screen. And so that's one of the things that I've done here. I've actually added touch support for 4 games initially. And so the first one I'm going to show you here is Raiden. And you'll see that we got the usual touch interface here while it's booting up, but then once it actually gets into the game, it selectively disables a bunch of buttons, and the scripting system has the ability to selectively disable any given touch element. And so it actually, the ship automatically seeks to my finger here, and it automatically fires when you're holding the screen. And if you tap with the second finger, that triggers a bomb there. But yes, this is much more enjoyable than using a touch a touch screen overlay, in my opinion. So there's that, and let's see what else we got here. Oh yeah, I guess while I'm at it, I've already addressed this in 50 different places, including the FAQ and the manual and even the storefronts at the moment. But if you're having overheating issues with this port, just go into System and Settings and enable energy conservation. Make sure you restart any software image if you're running one when you do that. It will most likely significantly cut down on your battery use and the heat of your device. But if you really want the technical explanation, it's in the user manual. Basically, iOS has some scheduling bugs, and when you enable energy conservation, it has the potential to make performance worse. Things might be a bit more stuttery. You might see like low frame rate periodically in the menus, or when there's like nothing going on, which is ironic. Like, the faster the thing is running, the more likely iOS is to deprioritize the entire process, basically. But anyway, if you're having that problem, use the energy conservation option. And if you're one of the many people who has complained that the touch overlay doesn't disappear when you hook up your controller, just set the overlay idle time option in the input menu. That's pretty much what you want. In this next update, on the first run, it will explicitly ask the user if they want to prefer performance or energy/heat heat generation, basically. And it will also, there's a new, what do they call it? Connected idle time, I think, or something like that. But basically, it's a second option that when there is more than one, when there is one or more connected device, it will use this other overlay idle time instead of the normal one, and it defaults that one to 3 seconds. I figure that way all the people that definitely are not going to ever read the manual or the FAQ will stop emailing me and posting comments about how the emulator doesn't do these things. Which really is kind of a pet peeve of mine. Like, I've noticed this happening so much more with this release than anything that I've released in the past. Is like, people used to actually at least like kind of read the FAQ or the manual before they went and posted stuff, or like took the trouble to email me. And this time, people aren't doing that for some reason. Maybe, I know I'm just being an old man and complaining, but I do wish people would read all these documentation things that I've taken the trouble to write. But anyway, now that I'm done bitching about that, let's take a look at Towers 2 here. I'm going to fast forward through the menu. Okay. Alright, so you'll notice that when the cursor comes up, it hides a number of things, but it keeps A so you can toggle it. And basically, you know, there's also, for most of these, if you go into your script settings here, you'll find that a lot of them have a touch offset option, and that's basically the distance of the cursor above your finger, since I find it useful to basically control the thing from below and drag it around, especially for a game like Myst where you want to see if it changes the indicator as you mouse over something, basically. And if you encounter any issues with the actual touch functionality, you don't have to disable the script. You can just come in here and toggle it off and then go back and do whatever, toggle it back on. Obviously, I haven't encountered anything like that, because if I had, I would fix it. But in case anybody doesn't, it's not like I'm doing a thorough QA on most of these things. But Towers 2 also has an uncapped frame rate option in this new script, which if you played Towers 2, you will probably appreciate. So anyway, it's basically, you control it like normal for the most part. And you can bring out the menu. Here's a little box here. So I take that, drag it over here, and basically that's the touch component. Like, instead of having to use a D-pad to move this cursor around, now you can just control it with your finger. And I do find, as you get into playing the game, that makes things much less tedious, so it's a fun component. And then we have, of course, Myst and VidGrid are going to be kind of the obvious ones. So Myst disables most of the interface most of the time because everything is handled by touch. So you can kind of drag your finger around to mouse over stuff, and if you just tap, that actually hits the button. But you can also, if you want, while you're mouse overing, if you don't want to have to release and tap, you can just use a second finger, tap like that. And of course the buttons 4 and 6 are enabled because these are backward and forward for book pages when you're reading books. And so that's Myst. And let's see here. Oops. I think I have a state on this one. Yep. Alright, so most of the screens on VidGrid, I'm not disabling the overlay because some of them have like dragging the cursor around like this hooked up, but don't necessarily have like actions or anything, and there's other like keys that do stuff in the menus in this game. But anyway, once you get into the actual game, it will disable everything but the A button, and that's because A is still used for flipping tiles if you're one of the ones that does that. So as you can see, you can just drag tiles around now. It's quite lovely. Ozzy didn't even get a chance to sing, but yeah, that's that. And of course, VidGrid is way better to play this way. It's still a silly ass puzzle game, of course. Mind you, it certainly gets hard. I'm not saying it's an easy game, but yeah. I better stop this before I get like a YouTube copyright notice. Okay. So yeah, that's all the touch functionality, and again, that'll be in the update that should be coming out relatively soon, assuming Apple doesn't cause any problems in the update review. So please be on the lookout for that. And if you have indeed bought BigPEmu for iOS, I really appreciate it. Got a couple hundred people that bought it, and then it totally fell off a cliff. I think we've hit the audience for people who are willing or have any desire whatsoever to play Jaguar games on their mobile devices. But it performed reasonably well. Just about covered the cost of the terrible MacBook that I had to buy and will never use for anything else ever again. So that's nice. But I'm trying to think before I hit stop recording if I had anything else to cover here. I think that just about does it. And as always, if anybody is having any problems with the emulator, yeah, people are complaining that it doesn't support thumbnails as well. So once again, please read the manual. That whole section on how to apply thumbnails and metadata in the browser is still totally applicable to the iOS port. Just import your ping files, or better yet, import your MRQ files, the format used by Jaguar Game Drive. Just import those things alongside your software images, and you will see them in the software browser, just like in the desktop ports. And the MRQ files even add more than just thumbnails. They'll give you developer, publisher information, and release date, and all that stuff. So yes, please do that. But as I was going to say, if anybody is having any problems whatsoever with the emulator, please read the FAQ and read the manual, because it is almost guaranteed that your issue has been addressed in there already. And it's probably not, you probably don't have to do anything more than set an option somewhere to resolve whatever problem you're having or make things more to your liking, unless you just hate my crummy UI design, in which case, sorry. It is what it is. I hate UI. I hate writing UI. And I only care about UI as much as I'm forced to care about it for making UI. So, I'm a tech guy. What do you want? But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching as always, and please have fun with your device touching in this upcoming updates. See you later.